Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Tales from Early Access. You might want to strap on a helmet and some pads for this one. It's quite the wipeout. For you see, tonight's story comes from an interesting developer. Their games are widely known, but they mostly deal in throwaway comedy games. Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread were once standouts, but now they're largely forgotten and overlooked. Yes, I refer, of course, to Bossa Studios and their latest project that hasn't exactly been a splash. This may be a story you heard of recently, as the ink on this particular tale is still wet. Weeks ago, their latest game met a tragic end mere days after its debut. A public doctrine, a threat, a promise, whatever you want to call it was declared, but it wasn't enough to save this fledgling game. Please, pull up a chair and hear the tale of DeckSplash, the online MMO skateboarding game that was cancelled after only 1 week in early access. It was an interesting idea, if nothing else. DeckSplash released on Steam Early Access on November 4th, 2017, and combined the control and paint-based multiplayer combat of Splatoon with Tony Hawk Pro Skater's skateboarding. It's hard to envision how the two would combine together, even after such a game has come out. I think Rock Paper Shotgun's Alice O'Connor, who played the game, probably has the same opinion most would have shared. It was okay, but the skateboarding wasn't as fun as a full skateboarding game, and the territory battling wasn't as fun as Splatoon. I'd rather be playing either one than the two combined. Basically, you'd ride around skateboarding and doing tricks like you would in any skateboarding game, but the bigger and more impressive combos you did would result in splashes of paint erupting from your skateboard. This paint would sort of be your judging system. It's exactly the same as Splatoon. Cover the world in your paint. Don't read too much into that. And that's kind of the gist of it, really. This was an early access game, so presumably Bossa would have introduced more depth had they decided to continue development. But that is something that just isn't going to happen. Before its release, Bossa Studios head Henrique O, I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, posted a vlog with news about the game. DeckSplash's first week would be free for anyone to play, but if it didn't attract enough players, they wouldn't continue developing the game. Sure, this was probably a bit of a marketing move, why else make it public, but I think it was also a plea. Please play this game so we can keep making it, you could almost hear him say. Well, sadly for him and Bossa, that won't be the case. The game failed to meet its minimum quota of 100,000 players during the Splash and Grab week as they called it, and just like they promised, or threatened, Bossa canned the game. The reason behind this was sound. Developing a game costs a lot of money, especially an online multiplayer game, and without the assurance that people are going to play it, it just isn't worth the cost. As did I really put his name on there again without knowing how to pronounce it? As Henrique said in the cancellation announcement, the lesson to take home is that, though not the best, this outcome is a good one for everyone involved. Its players won't spend money on a game that won't survive the long haul, the team can move on to a new Bossa project with a sense of closure, having done their best with DeckSplash, and we tried a new way of validating a multiplayer game. Should we have cancelled the game without this experiment, a what if would have always been there in the back of our minds. And I agree. It's not the best outcome for everyone, obviously, but it is a good one nonetheless. Bossa doesn't have to spend a ton of money finishing a game that only a handful will play, those handful don't have to spend money on what will quickly become a dead game, and future developers have a new model to test out their online games. Threaten to take it away if nobody plays. Seriously though, much like the game itself, this idea of gauging player interest is a good one, and it's great to see developers being so open and honest. That's something you rarely see these days. We all know if this were an EA game, they would have kept going regardless, shoving the game full of loot box gambling and microtransactions no matter how many people played. Best of all, nobody at Bossa is going to lose their jobs. Again, if this were an EA game, they would have shut down Bossa by now. But with two projects in the pipeline, Worlds Adrift and Perfect Date, it seems like the indie developer still has plenty in the works. So while not the best ending, this tale from Early Access does at least have a good one. And that's not something a lot of Early Access developers or players can say. And that is our story, ladies and gentlemen. A short but sweet one with a pleasant ending. There's a sex joke in there if you want to make it, I'm not gonna. Anyway, if you enjoyed this dramatic reading, why not consider supporting Cliqist on Patreon for more stories just like this one? Or check out Cliqist.com for written articles courtesy of people who aren't me. I'm sure you'll all like that quite a bit. Thank you, and we will see you next time on Tales from Early Access.